We continue with our live coverage on the first day of the 15th BRICS Summit, currently underway in Sandton, Johannesburg, where over 40 world leaders are attending, with thousands of delegates expected to take part in various discussions, from unlocking trade and investment to energy and market access for small businesses. Newzroom Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa is there for us. Cyril, of course, you have been speaking to various people, just weighing in on the importance and, of course, what the outcome should produce for entrepreneurs as, of course, the discussions become even more intense.
Absolutely, It's not just about macroeconomic policies, but also taking a look at small businesses and what is it that they need as well. You take a look at a conference of this like, where are people sleeping? What are people eating? What music are they listening to? What artifacts are they buying, and where are they buying those artifacts? I think, in fact, a little bit later on, our business team, if not today, tomorrow, will be taken to the streets of Sandton to give our viewers a look and feel of what the space is like. This is said to be the richest square mile on the African continent, and so we'll see how that translates, especially for the everyday person on the ground who's asking themselves how this benefits them. But for this leg of the conversation, Paul, we're going to be taking a look at some of the memorandums of understanding that have been signed between China and South Africa. This is as President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. That process has concluded, and they're going to be on their way here to the convention center in Sandton. Currently, the business forum, the BRICS Business Forum, is taking place, and there's a number of panel discussions that are also taking place. And so when we take a look at some of the things to expect in terms of outcomes, as you point out, Paul, for that conversation, we're going to be joined by Moeletsi Mbeki, a political analyst and chairman of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Mr. Mbeki, thank you very much once again for staying with us. I'd like for us to take a listen at what President Cyril Ramaphosa has just had to say in concluding the state visit with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. If we can take a listen at this.
Building on this firm foundation, we should continue to provide each other with mutual support. Over the years, the relationship between our two countries has been steadily strengthened and has transformed into a comprehensive strategic partnership that is underpinned by 10-year strategic programs of cooperation. China and South Africa share common goals of economic growth, development, and common prosperity for our respective countries and for all countries of the global South. At the moment, China is South Africa's largest global trading partner. South Africa is also China's biggest trading partner in Africa and an important destination for Chinese investment in Africa. Our bilateral trade has grown exponentially from less than 1 billion rand in 1998 to over 614 billion rand in 2022. This is a phenomenal jump. As South Africa, we would like to see the significant trade deficit narrowed, and this visit is an opportunity for us to look at ways to do so.
Moeletsi Mbeki, we touched on this a little bit earlier on in terms of the trade deficit, especially between BRICS member countries, but in South Africa in particular, when you take a look at the country's trade deficit with the rest of its counterparts or partners in this bloc in particular. And so when the president speaks about some of those issues needing to be ironed out, why are we still sitting here 10 years later, still talking about an issue that we know perhaps maybe some know how to resolve, but it would appear it's not being resolved?
Well, it's not being resolved first because we are not sorting out our electricity supply. That is a huge problem for South Africa because our industries are not growing the South African economy is not growing, and one of the biggest problems is the supply of electricity to industry, especially to the big metallurgical industries like the smelting of minerals, the smelting of metals. So that's what. The other one is, of course, the logistics problem. South Africa is a big country, so logistics is very critical for a country the size of South Africa. And one of the characteristics of South Africa is that most of our industry is in the interior of the country. Many countries, their industry is in the coast. So land-based logistics for South Africa is very important. But land logistics is expensive compared to sea logistics. So in order for our industry to be competitive, we have to have very low logistics costs in moving products from the interior to the coast and then to export. None of this is happening. None of this has happened. In fact, over the last 15 or so years, our logistics has been deteriorating and making our products more expensive in the world markets, and therefore we gain less profit from our products. So that's been one of the problems. The other problem is we have allowed the South African economy. I shouldn't say we. I should say the ANC government has allowed the South African economy to deindustrialize. The South African economy has been deindustrializing to such an extent that many things that used to be made in South Africa are now imported. And those are the two primary reasons why we have this balance of trade problem in relation to our BRICS partners. And of course, China has been driving the industrialization of the Chinese economy. Not only is it diversifying the economy in terms of manufacturing, it's also raising the quality of the industries and the quality of the skills of the population in China. You know, for the last 20, 30 years, at any one year, there were 1 million Chinese students studying outside China, because China was building up the skills of the Chinese population. We used to have Chinese students at our universities in South Africa, at our top universities like the University of Pretoria. There were Chinese students who were studying here. And they were all over the main universities in America, in England, in Germany, and so on. So these are the things that we have to do if we are to address the lack of competitiveness of our economy, which is what results in this trade imbalance.
If we speak of a lack of competitiveness in our economy, also big on the agenda for some countries, because also you wonder if there's consensus on this one particular issue of trading in a common currency amongst BRICS member countries. Does South Africa, or are we in a position to actually play in that space?
Well, South Africa actually has quite a big currency, which is traded globally. It's a convertible currency already. So if BRICS wanted to adopt a currency to trade in, actually the rand would be their first choice, because it's a globally traded currency. So yes, we're ready to play in that space. But of course, our currency, the underlying economy, has to also be strong.